Hello, good evening, welcome. We're gonna check out Decade. It looks like a weird sort of FMV adventure game, if memory serves. It is one that I was provided a key for after I did the Choose Wisely festival stuff. They had some keys left over, and I requested this and one or two other ones. So let's check it out. It looked weird and up my alley. Slayer looks so comfy. Yes. I don't know where a good spot is for Slayer, so we'll put him there for now. The world has ended. Metallic rain has pounded all life on Earth into a silvery black pulp. You were raised in a facility designed to protect against the rains. 5 years ago, when even these facilities deteriorated, you left along with thousands of other children to try to find some way of surviving. You were 12. The rain slaughtered them. They slaughtered each other. But you, the 3 younger children that you managed to protect, found this place. A sophisticated bunker built deep in the side of a mountain which draws water from deep underground, able to synthesize food from its algae. It won't last forever, but it's kept you all alive these past 5 years. You spent that time learning about the strange machine contained within this bunker. A machine that allows you to send someone into the past, and retrieve them after they've spent 10 years there. Now it's time to use it. Hence the name of the game is Decade. Game? Thank you. Mons, Jag, and Ula. They have age, determination, and sensitivity. I have icons. Jag's drawing. That's very good. What this do? Change background. Oh, I don't have any other backgrounds. Whoop. Save game. Sending somebody to the past inevitably changes the present, but if you can retrieve enough information on such things as astral events, sonic parameters, and environmental idiosyncrasies, you can send a person back safely while ensuring your current existence. This is the present day. You're fairly certain there are no more humans on the planet. A metal rain falls almost constantly, turning everything into a silvery pulp. With the strange machine you find yourself living inside, there is a small chance to do something. Perhaps. We could speedrun the game. Let's not. I'm sure that's bad. Assign child. Send back to the decade of 462 to 472 to discover what happened. You're the most determined. You're the most balanced. Let's send the balanced one back. Click on a character to close this chat window. You can pick up where you left off in the conversation at any time. Each character has their own personality, but will be dramatically affected as they age by the periods they visit, as well as the things you say to them. Oh, so now they're 19. Okay. Interesting. Weather frequency is added to inventory. Jag gained violent trait. Also, I think I need to move the cat. That seems like a better place for him. There. Did you miss me? Haha, it was a tough 3 minutes. Ha, I bet it was like a coffin in here. Tell me about the past you just came from. This may seem incredible to you, but there were no rains. Well, not always. And when there was rain, it wasn't toxic at all. Even so, it was a dangerous time. Why? There was no fear of death. People were violent and impulsive. Go on. It was a strange time. People roamed, scavenging the remnants of cities and civilization, hunting the few animals that existed. There was no universal communication system beyond radio. They lived lives of private endeavor, seeking only to make themselves stronger. Strong enough to kill, and dominate in the conflicts which arose whenever they came across each other. People killed for resources, for territories, but a lot of the time just because they saw it as a virtue. They called this way of thinking vitiverism. What are these weather frequencies you brought back? Honestly, I don't know, but they seem important. They must be related to the rains. A weak man gave them to me in return for his life. He seemed to think they were extremely valuable. He implied that there were lots of people interested in them. I tried to learn more, but I couldn't. Well done, Jag. I also got some valuables for a previous time. Found them in an old building that I was going to set up as a trading post with a few other people. It didn't happen, but I took advantage of the chaos to make off with this stuff. Good, I'm proud of you. I'm just happy to see all of you again. I can't believe this works. How did you survive? It wasn't easy. I got lucky more than a few times. I was a slave for almost a year, but I broke free. Still, even with all that time's craziness, it was wonderful to breathe the air and feel fresh and feel real grass. Didn't people band together? Some people acted together sometimes, but only temporarily. Community was seen as weak, shameful. Even family was seen as dubious, a mere consequence of sex. Killing as a virtue? Yes, a sort of natural law. It's hard to explain. It's like a religion. It's kind of funny. What is? Well, I'm older than you now, but it seems like you're my... older brother? I suppose so, in a way. The words don't matter. What matters is we all love and protect each other. I know. Seeing you like this, I feel like I finally understand. Understand what? How you ended up leading the group. Out there, I mean. Even though you were only 12, younger than a lot of the others. I prefer not to think about those times anymore. Of course. Coming back to this after 10 years always plays havoc with your thoughts, memories, like walking back into the past. A different one. You know what I mean. Your personal one. Everyone has come to a type of madness, a puritanical obsession with violence and destruction, belief that killing is the only worthwhile and virtuous action. I can scroll. Will you be sending me next? I want to go, I'm ready. Hello, Mons. Will I be going first? Do you understand what's going to happen? We're going to make the world better so we can leave this bunker and everything will be great. Will I get a tattoo? Yes, just before you go. Do you remember why? So we don't forget how to come back. It's the coordinates in time to be there, but I won't forget. I know you won't, Mons, but just to be sure. 10 years is a long time. I guess. Okay. Alright, Mons. Here's your time to shine. Not a single day went by when I didn't think about you all. Only the thought of you kept me alive. I like that the portraits age as we go. I'm sure you did well, Mons. Stack of newspapers. And, oh yeah, I didn't look at the stuff. What did you discover? Quite a lot. It's a lot more peaceful than the time of the Vitivirus, so I was able to learn quite a bit. Not only about the period I went to, but even earlier eras. Tell me about the era you visited. It had everything. Planes, trains, cars, global communication. You could get anything you wanted. Go anywhere. They have big, beautiful cities. Everyone is young. Everything works under Nerolian principles. It's almost perfect, except... Except? The people there are aimless. It's as if they cannot find anything to focus upon achieving. Their relationships with each other are hollow and petty. They throw themselves into entertainments, but even there they seem culturally ambivalent. What did you learn about the past? I gathered variables for 2 different periods prior to the time I visited. I couldn't get anything further back. Very good. Tell me about them. Years before the time I went, there was a lot of activity. A prosperous period where a lot of stuff was built. Before that, there was something called the Great Smothering. What was the Great Smothering about? It's actually referred to as the Great Beginning. The term smothering was seen as a bit subversive toward Nerolianism, emphasizing what came before rather than what came after. There's a growing anti-Nerolian sentiment in the time I went to, though it was still somewhat underground. What exactly was smothered? The past. Great Smothering was what they called that period during which they eradicated everything from the past. Records, culture, art, everything. Anything from the past that held any kind of inherent psychological or artistic value. Everything from the smallest teacup designed to the largest architectural structure was destroyed if it didn't adhere to certain Aurelian principles. Anyone preserving such things was punished, though it seems most people at the time believed fully in the concept. Oof, indeed. Why? It sort of depends on who you ask. There's the accepted history, the subversive one, and then all sorts of conspiracy theories. A subversive version? Some people were starting to say life before the smothering was actually better than what came after. They thought that the Great Smothering, perhaps even Nerolianism itself, was just a method for gathering and retaining power. By who? Certain Nerolians? Maybe other clandestine groups? It was frowned upon to even talk about such things, so it was often spoken about very vaguely. What's the accepted story? That there was nothing worthwhile before the Nerolian age, that the stuff destroyed was all just clutter, that the incredible prosperity which followed was proof of Nerolianism and the great beginnings virtue. Tell me about these conspiracy theories. There were lots. Stories. Although it became hard to tell which were intended as entertainment, which were disguised as it. Some people were desperate for things to believe beyond Nerolianism, I think. Go on. Some suggested that the smothering was an attempt to cover up terrible things from humanity's past, things which would make it impossible to go on. I know a man who believed it was a way of suppressing human beings' inherent supernatural abilities. There's also this idea that violence and chaos were humanity's true birthright, the only things which could bring a person true fulfillment. I think a lot of it was just the malaise, people yearning for or something other than the world they found themselves in. I don't think there's anything of value to these theories. Tell me about the prosperous period. It was an incredible time of great people, although that might just be the self-glorification of history. It wasn't big or grandiose. That went against the Nerolian principles of the time. It was a pure kind of beauty, an efficient kind of luxury. What about Vitervism? It was an underground movement populated by people too weird and abrasive to adjust to society. It was a fairly superficial movement. They loved violence without actually engaging in it. They liked its radical nature. I don't think many were smart enough to come up with the idea themselves, though. I think the root of our current predicament lies deeper than this. I suppose we can go a bit further back now anyway. How many times do you think we will have to do this? I don't know. I hope it's not too many. Were there no other ideas at the time? That's what I spent a lot of time investigating. Things were starting to emerge, but only on the fringes. Bergamism, Cedarism, people into them were seen as radicals, idiots, dangerous though. Many I think were false, but some seem promising. I brought back some materials related to them. Nerolian? Yeah, it was the foundation and purpose of the world back then. What is Nerolianism? Essentially, it's the idea of focus being the most important quality, of removing anything that held no virtue or value. In Nerolianism, one must think like the arrow, not the target. There's little respect for a person who had many interests, for instance. You're meant to be singularly dedicated and pure and become a perfect expression of something. ... For example, it was distasteful for an artist, a musician, or filmmaker to, say, release lots and lots of work. To people back then, an artist like that obviously lacked vision and conviction. It was evidence of his low character, just throw everything out there in the hope something resonated with people. It was also irresponsible to clutter people's cultural lives in this way. ... Revered artists were those who only ever put out one or two things, and often very simple, but the idea was that they had channeled themselves and their ideas fully into a single work. That was the kind of art and artist such a philosophy desired. I see. ... Oh, I didn't think that was the... Oh, I wanted to do thanks, you did well. I'm sorry. These are the weather frequencies from Jag. A poster from... Okay, so this is all from Mons. Clown, Agrius, Muslimus. The only other way out of this is Bergamism. Random collection newspapers. Bergamist art. Okay. Oh, we have a few options. Prosperity through immaculacy or the Great Smothering. I think we should go to the Great Smothering. Maybe we should go here first and get some more info on the Great Smothering. That might be smarter. Oh! Oh, we have actual, like, goals here. Oh, boy. Ho ho. Oh, dear. Okay. Weather frequencies to learn from... Oh, I don't know. I don't know who these people are. Radical designers. I can't stop crying. It's okay, Ula, you're back now. This place seems so much smaller than I remember it. Darker. How was it? I enjoyed it. It was a happy time. There was energy and optimism for the future. Sense that things were getting better all the time. Felt very strange to be the only person who knew things wouldn't. What did you learn? It was hard to learn anything. The fundamental principle of society was Nerolianism, which meant the removal of all superfluous or alternate ideas, making it hard to discover anything beyond it. Yeah, okay, I get it. Do you think we can influence this time period in any meaningful way? Despite how well things were going, I think so. There were definitely elements we could exploit. There was constant discussion about society and its undertakings by everyone. Such discussions were odd that they often focused on what should be forgotten and consigned to the past rather than where to direct the future. There's a person called Tam Welk, for instance, who grew in prominence during the decade. She was a good leader and a unique thinker, and who had a talent for seeing problems. A pivotal figure, I think. There were also intense arguments around design. Factions formed and rearranged themselves constantly around such ridiculous ideas. Things like the nature and purpose of corners, color contrast, or the shape of light switches. They all adhered to the principles of Nerolianism, of course, but differed on how to manifest them. There was a serious fear that art and design was how radicals could potentially subvert things. Finally, there's the controversial idea that began to gather steam while I was there, that people over 50 should be encouraged to kill themselves. The fear was that that they were more inclined to retain old superfluous ideas and also might have accumulated the power to maintain them. A man named Rero Haig was the figurehead. The argument against his was that the young were more impulsive and were just as, if not more likely to subvert to Nerolianism. Oofa doofa. Did he succeed? We haven't seen any evidence of it, but then again, it could have occurred after this decade at some point, with all the memory of it removed in Nerolian fashion. I couldn't change anything meaningfully enough. I need help in figuring out what to do. How do you reckon we can change things in this era? It's hard to change things in society, especially one like that. Everything is so robust. System upon systems. There must be some way to disrupt it. Let me think. Tam Welk embodied a lot of the successes of the time. She was massively influential, a totem, and also active in the direction of society. I think if we could do something with her, then it could have huge ripples through this time. But she's smart and tough and very well protected. To get close to her would require someone with either a lot of dedication or more perceptive qualities. Is there an easier option? Rero Haig, I suppose? His desire to limit the age of the population seemed fairly critical to the future. Was he successful in this timeline? If he did, then the Nerolians smothered it, so I don't know. Perhaps not as much as he wanted, but in later eras, it definitely seems like older people had diminished roles in society. Perhaps why the Vitervius were so successful. Violence has a more youthful appeal. Definitely. That makes sense. I like the animation on these too. Oh, I can have a Nerolian or Viterviism. Right click to change the music only. That's neat. Game is neat. Well, you're violent. You want to go kill a person? Actually... So should we be helping or killing Tam? Alright, let's have Jag... kill or destroy Rorohig. Good luck, buddy. Of course. Coming back to life after 10 years plays havoc with your thoughts, memories, like walking back into your past. How was it? Oh no, he's Nerolian. I enjoyed it. It was a happy time. There was an energy and an optimism of the future. Sense that things were getting better all the time. What did you do? I didn't need to do much to survive. There was so much opportunity in production that living was easy. It was a society in which you could do whatever you wanted as long as it adhered in some way to Nerolianism. It was enforced? No, it wasn't a top-down thing. It was more all around you. Philosophy that ran through everything. The architecture, the language, the people was a self-evident truth that every soul carried within. What were the people like? To me, to us, they seemed odd but good. They were honest, direct, but somewhat boring. They were dedicated to their chosen work or purpose, which might make them seem simple, though. In such a society, the smallest idiosyncrasy became hugely important. Perceptions of an entire person could focus upon their use of a certain word or a small mannerism, for instance. What did you learn? I know enough about Nerolianism. You think we can influence in any meaningful way? Yep. Do you think he's right? I don't want to live in a world without old people. I've seen how crazy it can get. Are you alright, Jack? Sure. Tell me. It's really nothing. I'm still getting my head around it all. You look like you have something on your mind. That obvious? I was never a good liar. What is it? It's gonna sound silly. Go on. I had a girl back there. Lens Pio was her name. What was she like? Fun, open, relaxed. She was so easy to be around. Easy to laugh with. How long were you together? 3 years. I broke up with her about a month ago, knowing I would have to come back here. I'm sorry, Jag. I'm sure it was very difficult. Yeah, it was. For a second I almost thought about... No, don't worry. I would never have done that to all of you. Oh, poor kid. Oh, we have an alternate future. I think I still want to learn about... pre-smothering artifacts. Learn. How was it? It was a rather exciting time, actually. They had many names for it. The new beginning, the great inception, the new future, that sort of thing. There was a sense that it was really the start of something positive, a new vision of life. What was life like? Quite active. Everyone was involved in removing the old world and rebuilding the new. Every day you would see a building torn down or a new one go up. A new sculpture in public or a new design concept for everyday objects. The sense of purpose gave everyone a sense of togetherness that made life quite easy. Changes around them made it seem like anything was possible. Did you learn anything about what happened before all this? Not much. It was surprisingly difficult, even though there were people still alive who must have known what came before. There were strict laws against discussing it, but more than that, it was simply an assumed truth that the clean future was good and dredging up the past was destructive and negative. What do you think? I mean, about Nerolianism. I don't think we should forget the past. I think it can teach us many things. Do you think I'm like you? Yes, very much so. That makes me happy. Alright. So we didn't learn much. Let's see what's in this alternate future here. Let's have Ula go. I don't want to lose Jag to him tracking down his former gal. The past 10 years have been quite depressing. I can tell you that for a start. In what way? It's a civilization in decline. Though everyone can feel something is wrong, a lot of them don't even realize it yet. What sort of decline? By almost every metric, society was getting worse, even in the decade I was there before the change was noticeable. Once beautiful places were made ugly. People became less kind, less interesting. It was as if humans had become primarily concerned with the territorial and lost their sensitivity to other things. Many groups were beginning to emerge from the chaos, claiming to have answers. Bergamus, Cedarus, Vitervius even. How did you cope with it? I knew I would be coming back here eventually. Still, it was difficult. I got married to a rich man, he inherited his wealth, and suddenly life became much easier. It's the kind of world it was, one in which nothing is really earned. Did you love him? I didn't marry for love, but yes, at one point. You wouldn't understand, but 10 years is a long time. Enough to fall in love and enough to fall out of it. Anyway, it allowed me to see many aspects of the world as it was. Did you hate everything about that era? Not everything. Being beautiful made people nice to me. Being rich made it possible to do anything. But one gets used to such things. Only meaning can make one happy, and there was none of it to be found there. Do you think we can influence this time period, then? Perhaps. People's just desperation might make it easier to direct them if we have something substantial to offer. An idea, a goal, something more human than technology. Tell me, do you remember when we were outside, before we found this place? Why do you ask? Do you remember how many of us there were? Fewer every day. But for the longest time, there was about a dozen of us. For months. After the deaths and abandonments and splitting off, I thought we would all last. Why are you thinking about this? Do you remember Anno? ... She was my friend and you killed her. If I hadn't, we would all be dead. Not just our group, but humanity itself. How? I could not keep all of you alive. Better a quick death than rain tearing you to pieces. Maybe. Ah, we're terrible. Not surprised. Mons. Go check out this. Ouch, indeed. Hi, Val. Tell me what you found. For where I went, there were masses of people, crowds. Their individuality, their complexity, their humanity gone, perhaps forever. They acted as a mob, following others around them. It was humiliating to see, but they were beyond feeling even shame. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. I spent every second of that decade remembering this place, wishing for time to go faster so I could return. Had civilization fallen? Yes, sort of. Sort of? Civilization had become a backdrop, an empty ritual, the meaning of which was lost. The people were surrounded by the works of civilization, its systems, politics, culture, but they had no sense of how much had gone into building them or even maintaining them. Of course, it was easy for me to see, but it was surprising just how much these things were being taken for granted. The people were long detached from the benefits of building a civilization and knew only how to reap its benefits. What was the problem exactly? I spent a lot of time thinking about that. There were a few, very few, people considering that problem back then as well. There are some theories. Of course, most people insisted there was no problem at all. Tell me these theories. Hello, hello, welcome on in. Personally, I would think in the time I visited was too little too late, but with the benefit of hindsight, some thinkers had convincing arguments for what had gone wrong. There was one about humanity's psychic wound. Then there was another very controversial notion about the sanctity of human life. One that suggested overpopulation was inevitable, but needn't be detrimental. And another that proposed it as a self-correcting problem. We already know this isn't a self-correcting problem. Yes, but there are still interesting concepts in the writings I found. They typically looked at animal populations, for example. Say an island can support 100 deer. If you put only a few deer there, they would quickly grow to around 100 and population would level off. If you put 200 deer there, they would experience death, disease, starvation, and other issues till they reduced a number to about 100, a stable number. Humans aren't deer. We will destroy ourselves before we stabilize our numbers. The key factor isn't the deer, but the island itself, or in this case, civilization. Nerolians created a civilization so strong it could support billions upon billions, but paradoxically, those billions bring about issues which cause that civilization to crumble. The writer behind this theory claimed that there were historical examples for the demographic causes of the rise and fall of civilization, ones that he'd somehow retrieved from before the smothering, which of course got him into a lot of trouble. He said the difference this time was that the extremes were so great they'd become potentially fatal. Ultimately, the problem was that the Nerolian system was too successful, too prosperous, too generative, too productive. It was inevitable that it would crumble beneath the weight of its own success. Interesting. Tell me about the psychic wound theory. This one is interesting. The writer who articulated it developed a cult following, and his murder only made it grow. It seemed to be gaining even more steam just before I left, though I guess it didn't amount to anything. Go on. Goes like this. For thousands, tens of thousands of years, humans lived with the unknown. They had regions, territories, places that they knew, but there were always boundaries, frontiers, beyond which anything could exist. The most savage dangers or the most wonderful treasures could possibly reside in this unknown. This is why, he argued, humans developed curiosity, an appetite for risk, a sense of adventure. Humans are beings of exploration, he said, in a way that no other animal is. A relationship with the unknown is fundamental to humanity. You're right. This is quite interesting. The problem then was that the world, as we knew, as it was back then, was entirely mapped, cataloged, documented, and known. They had systems that allowed you to message people across the planet instantly. You could find live visual feeds of anywhere you wanted. Information about every place, person, and thing which existed. It was impossible to get lost. Impossible to step foot where nobody had stepped before. There were no unimaginable dangers and no undiscovered treasures. He thought this was such a profound loss for humans that he called it the psychic wound. Did he have a solution? Yes, though after his death it was interpreted and reinterpreted into various ideas such as transcendence and new languages, which people argue about constantly. Essentially, however, his solution was simple. Space. The only thing which could satisfy humans' physical, physiological, or psychological and spiritual need was to begin exploring beyond the planet, he believed. Sure, he's right. I wonder. No more theories. Something you should know. It's a subtle point, hard to explain, but people aren't like us. What do you mean? They're weak and petty. They have no sense of history, and especially no mind for the future. They're incapable of making bonds even remotely as strong as ours. So often, people in the past seem empty, broken. You don't feel like you're connecting to them. As if their entire personality is merely a trick to seduce you. A bundle of pathologies wrapped and portrayed as an identity. Did something happen? I told someone about all this. A lover. I don't know why. I was so lonely. He reminded me of you a little. What did he say? I don't think he really believed me. He pretended to. He thought that the scenario I described to him was bizarre and twisted, that nobody would ever act the way we acted, feel the way we felt. Of course he couldn't understand. There really is only us. Alright. So can I... Rulers, systems, masses... Oh, I have new stuff. Hang on. Oh, there's the Psychic Wound. I have it as a book. Nerolian Fashion Mag. A drug lab. Interesting. So, what happens if we assign someone to go back to the Great Smothering? Probably you. With Psychic Wound to subvert Neolianism. Or Nerolianism. Nothing changed? I need help. Do you have any idea on what to do during the Great Smothering? I think the goal should be to find the variables we need so we can get to an era before it. Perhaps, but how? I did everything I could to find something pre-smothering these past 10 years, and it's almost impossible. The entirety of the system is focused upon the smothering. There must be something which survived. They can't have destroyed everything. Absolutely. I did find little bits and pieces in junkyards and abandoned areas. Nothing substantial, though. I'm sure there were lots of people who kept or forgot things, but the penalties for doing that were harsh. Maybe I need to send someone with the right characteristics, the right qualities. No, that won't do you no good. I was diligent enough. I believe you need something else. Then what? Well, all that pre-smothering information hidden away in attics and cellars might emerge much later, perhaps, if Nerolianism deteriorates enough for it to become acceptable. Or it might just simply be a question of power. Power? People are quite happy during the smothering. There is lots of activity and freedom, but the wealthy and powerful still have control, as in any centralized society. If we can't find what we need by simply visiting the time as a regular person, then maybe whoever I send can become wealthy and powerful enough to find it among the pre-smothering artifacts. 10 years is a long time. Long enough to build an empire, or perhaps some clandestine group of our own. The question is how. All of our collected ideas and philosophies are practically useless during this era. Whoever goes again will need something to help them become powerful. Wealthy, really. Something to give them an edge. Information. I think we have something that could work. I think I was correct on the psychic wound thing, or maybe art, newspapers. Mother can be altered somehow. So if we're gonna do that, we probably have to go here. Bring... No. You are Nerolian, so sending you to try to subvert that's going to be tough. So what if I send you with Psychic Wound to subvert Nerolianism in this era instead? I used what you sent me back to stir people's spirits and remind them that there was a lot more to life than this. It took a few years and there was a lot of resistance, but I managed to convince enough people to strive for something beyond what the world that was. Oh, pessimistic now. From what we hear on the radio, it seems there are people out there who are somewhat insane and desperately struggling. A few elites pretending to still be in control, going through the motions, oblivious to reality. Bureaucracy. I'm not surprised they're the only thing that survived. What do you think happened between the time you visited and now? I don't know. Perhaps a revolution? Perhaps humanity decided to go to space? Perhaps another war? Hey, we got a new path. Alright, Jag. Yeah, it was. For a second I almost thought about... No, don't worry, I've never would have... Oh yeah, that's the... How did it go? It was strange. I'm starting to realize that people don't understand how fragile everything around them is, even as it's close to disappearing completely. Hey, he's optimistic now. Tell me about pre-smothering investigations. It's been so long that very little was left undestroyed. There were ample rewards for anything found, however, so people who had kept pre-smothering artifacts hidden came forward. So there were dedicated attempts to seek anything out. Hey, that's better. Because of this, a few things did emerge. I did my best to find all I could as well, and eventually managed to recover the information needed to travel to a time before the smothering. Hey! Tell me about the space venture. Took a colossal effort from a lot of people, not last because there was resistance at every stage. The technology was brute forced as a matter of urgency, with no respect for safety, and many risks taken. It was only the genius of Fermano and the recovery of certain pre-smothering engineering principles that enabled its development. And even then, we're still not sure that the ship survived. Tell me about life back then. Very difficult. Food and water supplies had deteriorated. It was hard to find space. People in cities lived in cramped communes, while those outside cities struggled to raise resources from the polluted land and air. Survival was always most prominent in people's minds. Living was drab. Tell me about the people back then. It was a strange contradiction. Aimless, sad, and empty, yet constantly active, talking, and moving. Even though many opposed society's new purpose of space travel, I think it had given them an unconscious sense that the development and progression was possible again. Of course, everyone had a different idea on how things should progress. I had an idea. What is it? I know you're gonna hate it, but just say it. Well, we know now that there are eras in the past which are decent. Times when things were pretty great even. And people were happy. And we don't know yet if there is a future worth doing all this for. Maybe instead of wasting any more of our lives for a future we might not even be possible, we should just, pick a time we all like and send us all back there. We could live together, be happy, not worry about any of this. Who would send me back? Maybe we could figure out some way of doing it. We dedicated our attention to that instead of this? Let the world just burn out and we have the chance to save everything? I knew you'd say something like that. You're asking me to end the human race so we can have a few self-indulgent years of delusional happiness. I know, you're right. I know this is very difficult, Jag, but... You must never lose perspective. Yeah. Machine... Oh. Alright. Okay, so we can go earlier. What's Sandula? I have so much to tell you. Even though I was there for 10 years, I still can't make sense of most of it. We'll figure it out together. Well, people became more and more antagonistic toward each other as the decade went on, culminating in a huge crisis. Various groups accused each other of many things. They attempted to destroy each other, seize power, or exit society completely. Things were very tense since the world had only just emerged from a dreadful war, and it looked like things were getting better. Philosophies like Nerolianism, Cedarism, and Pachulianism had blossomed in the emptiness of the post-war period. So all these philosophies we've discovered came from before the smothering. Yeah, I guess things like Vitervism found a way of surviving the smothering, re-emerging when Nerolian society was weakened. I believe many of them were formed after the war with a sense of constructed positivity. The war had decimated the global population, reducing it to the tiniest fraction of what it had been. From billions to the very low millions, perhaps less. Imagine cities that have been teeming with life now just carrying one or two families, traveling for days, weeks without seeing another soul. None of them were confined to a tiny bunker. There weren't toxic rains that tore the flesh off you. They were surrounded by rubble and rust, but also abundance. Abandoned civilization, wildlife, food growing everywhere. All this technology just laying around for them to use. No infrastructure, of course, but still. No society, also. No governments, no law, no police. They had total freedom. Absolute power over themselves. They were like gods. Seems like they lived simply, perhaps shocked and exhausted from the war still, but they had lots of ideas and the means to develop them with new ways of living. What did you learn about this war? Oh, there were some indications that certain ideas may have begun during or even before the war, however. Some said Vitervism developed from the remnants of a particular army, or that Cedarists had a lineage that went back even further. What did you learn about this war? Nobody really knew much, despite everybody feeling its effects so deeply. Nobody was even sure how long it had lasted. 5 or 500 years. There are some pretty smothering writers and historians who thought of it as a simple territorial war of nationalities, races, countries defending their sovereignty or looking to expand. But according to a lot of accounts, it seems there were periods and places that wasn't the case. In some areas, it seemed more like a politically motivated civil war. In others, the grievances were religious. There's very likely a huge mercenary element as well. The further back you look, the more confusing it becomes. Some people even argued that the cause of the war was just the world actually lacked definition. That, in fact, prior to the war, people had mixed freely, cared little for religions, politics, and ideas, that they had severed their attachment to all things, that following generation felt a pathological urge to reestablish such distinctions in the most violent, sudden, and conclusive manner possible. What went wrong during your decade? There were multiple scandals and conflicts that grew in frequency and scale. Murderous disputes among the Rosians and their willingness to destroy things, for instance. Within a span of 2 years, several major incidents created the feeling of a crisis point which needed to be resolved. The Detritus takeover of Zudi, the Cedarist Eternity scandal, the Somatic disturbance, and the new Camphorus. Tell me about the Vitervus takeover. As the population grew, territorial disputes became common. Zudi was a city populated mostly by Anzias and Nerolians, but it also contained a small yet powerful group of Vitervus. Many of these city-states were beginning to join a larger coalition, the beginnings of a small government. Zudi, being successful as a city, was about to join, though Vitervus did not want to. So they essentially seized it violently, forcing its inhabitants to live under their own decrees. This was the sort of thing that happened often, but it was the first great test for the consortium which Zudi had been about to join. If they could not protect their own member cities, their very existence was irrelevant. Tell me about the Cedarist Eternity scandal. Cedarists, at least a small group of them, they claimed, wanted eternal life. It was discovered they had been abducting women and children in order to perform experiments on them. Atrocious things. Gene manipulations, rituals, cannibalism. These Cedarists were good at manipulating perception and maintaining secrecy, but even after attempting to distance themselves from all this, everyone else was unanimous in their condemnation. Tell me about the Somatic disturbance. For several days, in only a specific region, the sky turned a deep red. The air seemed to shake silently as if a low, loud sound was passing through it. Electronic devices ceased to work, and a few large structures turned to dust. In some spots, gravity weakened to the point where things occasionally floated. The Pachulians claimed this was the result of their manifestations. Lavenderists attempt to recreate it. Bergamus accused the Anisians of irresponsibility using final war technologies. Everyone was afraid that a new conflict could begin. Tell me about the new Camphorus. They were small and somewhat secretive. They also had a terrible reputation for being disruptive and troublesome. Many things were said about them, often so contradictory it was obviously false. They made perfect scapegoats, and there was a loose acknowledgement among some that they were the initiators of the final war. What's certain, however, is that a group calling themselves New Camphorus poisoned the water supply of a burgeoning city, sent versions of a highly sophisticated electrical destruction device, which it seemed they developed themselves, to various people of other ideologies, and amputated their limbs until they died. The whole episode was so bizarre and shocking that no one knew what to make of it. Interesting. I've heard enough about this time period. Was this crisis point the reason for Nerolian domination afterwards? Yes. Even though the final war had ended over a generation ago, it lingered deep in people's psyches. People were afraid of another vast but senseless conflict, of losing what little they had built. So they gave total control to the Nerolians? The Nerolians had some very charismatic leaders. Pure Caudy, for instance, the smothering his idea mostly. Nerolians were trustworthy and had contributed the most to rebuilding society, often entire cities from nothing. I think many other groups arrogantly thought they could survive Nerolian dominance. Others blended Nerolian ideas with their own. We saw that with Vitervus, for example. Their values of strength as truth were stripped down and refined to their extreme, killing as virtue. Good work. What will you do? This is definitely a critical time. I think we might be able to do something here. We should be able to change the timeline here. Oh, we can go back to the final war as well. Okay, so this is the one we were in. I think that's gonna be... Oh boy. Oh, we haven't even looked at... We got stuff. Selection of corresponds fingered Dunk in Dunslia during the latter's imprisonment for induction, unethical practices, and inhumanity. Expect your with regards might happen to be in the future. Good lord. It's a code, you moron. Do you think the letters do not go through censors? Final 2 paragraphs, the first is possibly too late. You doomed Cedarism to endure only whatever hollow distortion it could. Amazing. Final 2 paragraphs. Before... Nope. B-A-F... Oh, that's these 2 paragraphs. Hard to tell what's the paragraphs and what's just... an enter. B-A-F-R... B-A-F-M-I... It... B-L-A-M-E... Blame... Peer. Ah! So they blamed Peer for it. Okay. So, I wonder if... Oh, we should see what else we got. Doctor of Speech. Buddha line will return. Jazz musical studies, Rosarian Bergamus couple, frequencies upon people and atmospheres. Patent protected proprietary tool used in the manufacturing drugs and plastics. There's a lot going on here. Holy cow. Okay. Take Dunn's letters to help Peer? See what that does? Or Dunn's letters to subvert Cedaris. That might be better. I'm back. I'm glad you came back. Did you suspect you wouldn't? I wouldn't? Of course not. Uh-huh. Did you learn anything new? Definitely think we can change things during this area, but it's tricky figuring out how. Do you have any ideas? I've thought about nothing else for a long time. Go on. It was a very reactionary time. I mean, I realize more than ever that history is perhaps more about reactions than some sort of linear advancement. Seems like there were all these new ideas, but really, people were fleeing old ones. Driven by fears of the final war, they struggled for compromise. The world's lack of sense or shape compelled them towards ideology and governance. Well, we already know this utter chaos resulted in the Great Smothering, for instance. I understand. I'm trying to work out a way to make the society react in a different way. We know Nerolians came out on top after all this. Maybe we can try to cause a reaction against them to guarantee a different outcome. At the time, the few who disliked Nerolians thought of them as anti-intellectual, destroyers of culture, history, and knowledge. Maybe we can inflame those sentiments into something larger. Well, still not sure how. If you looked at Dunn's letters, there's something I haven't been able to figure out, I'm certain of it. If anyone knows how to change the course of society, it's a Caesarist, that's for sure. Well, I came up with that part already. Alright, maybe I was right on my first thought. I'm back. Did you learn anything new? I definitely think we can change things during this era. Dang it. Pooh. So it wasn't that. Do you subvert Neuralians? I'm back. Did you learn anything new? Dang it. What we're missing here. Oh, no worries. Did I do Dunn's letters to help Cedarus? I don't remember. Dang it. Let's check out the final war. Let's try that. Starting to feel like the world is always ending in some way or another. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad to be back. For all the violence and suffering, it was the strangeness of people back then which made it difficult. What did you do? Found myself fighting for people called the Clovians against a far greater army. Well, I say greater. Either side had once numbered in the thousands. Now the conflicts were skirmishes between a few dozen or so in the mountains. Still, the passion was immense, even if the reasoning wasn't. How did anyone survive? I suppose the strong always survive. The smart, too, perhaps. More and more people became cowards, so they were called. They called themselves camphorous, those who sought to do what other people would not. A lot of them hunkered down, trying to find nooks and crannies to survive. Odd. A lot of them live quite similarly to the way we did, or do. Do you think we can change anything there? No, it's a time too chaotic to control or guide in any way. What would you do in my position? Thought about that often. I think, after living through that decade, I think I want us to survive more than ever, but I'm not sure I feel the same about humanity. I don't think we got anything new. With Summoned back to excess with psychic wound to help seed new ideology. What did you find? A wild world where one could really live as a god, where it was the sensitive who thrived. Wild? Oh yeah, it was like being at the birth of man as something more than an animal. I'm sorry, I should really try and be more specific. It's okay, take your time. It's hard, because there really is no way to sum such a time up. There is no such thing as global communication or universal values or some general idea of what life should be. The world was a mystery. Everything an adventure. You'd meet people doing the strangest things everywhere. I found a group of people in a forest that had developed a unique set of complex rituals for beckoning the gods. Then 10 miles away, I found 100 other people rebuilding cars so they could fight in a territorial dispute over a power plant. I did so much over 10 years, saw so many things, yet I feel like I saw the tiniest fraction of all the time, and even just telling you what I saw would give you a distorted impression. What did you do? In a city reclaimed by Nerolians, I dedicated myself to the art of fermenting alcoholic drinks. Along with a woman called Zeph Broad, we gained a strong reputation for our produce. I won't lie to you, I indulged. There were times I completely forgot about this. Though I would never forget any of you, the fact that I was there for a reason, the specific goal, was so easy to let slip. I understand. In a city reclaimed by... no, I hope. So what if... Incantations, hang on. Written by a collective of Hulyens, catalog of songs they supposedly sung in order to manipulate the environment. Recorded in a strange and detailed manner. So with that, and that, and that... So what if... to help the Pachulians. In a sense, I learned a lot of new things, but in terms of how we might alter the timeline, I really have only one idea. Tell me the idea. The thing which was most noticeable after everything we've seen is how early and thus weak these ideologies were at the time. Despite great energy and enthusiasm for them, I don't think it would be very difficult to destroy any of these ideologies entirely during this era. The question is which one. Some would definitely be more difficult to destroy than others. Cedarism, for instance. Its insular nature makes it very hard to root out. We've already know Nerolianism would eventually dominate over all other ideas. What if it wasn't around anymore? Which one did I... Ah, shoot. I think I was in here. If I send them further back to subvert the Cedarus. Did you learn anything new? Ooh, has plan. Dang it. Oh no, 81 now. Too many options. I'm doing poorly now. What if I just don't give you anything? What if you just go? Just go. It worked! Oh no. Oh. She didn't make it back, but we did get a new timeline. New zealotry. Oh dear. So world created Ula's name. She takes her sanctimony to extreme at the expense of her gentleness, compassion, and judgment. Oh boy. F indeed. Well, let's find out some stuff before we, lose everyone. The 27 books. Oh, we lost track now. Collaboration. Clear and effective plan. Lun's gear. Welp. Good luck. Welp. I'm out of children to send. Goodbye, children. Well, let's go see the ending we've gotten. I did nothing. It's true. I mean, I changed the future, but not well. Well, that was an exceptionally bleak ending. Oh, poor kids. See what happens if we just leave. Was this stupidity or madness? Oh, they shouldn't have. Oh, it was trippy but very unwise. Okay. I was curious. Alright, well, what if we send you? Sniper rifle? Oh no, she's perturbist. We got a gun though. What? Did you startle yourself, buddy? Hmm? You got the variables for prior time period. Cedarus, okay. Think you would like Viturism. You understand the value of strength and need for killing. In a way, you're the purest Viturist I've ever met. People back then did it because it was the norm, but you did it because you understood the true nature of things. Is there something else? Yes. Send me back. Why? I think I know what caused the rains, but it was too late for me to do anything about it. There were hidden weapon factories, research labs. I believe they were working on weapons of mass destruction. For who? I don't know, but I'm sure there were more powerful groups hidden away. I think they want to establish power again, but there was only one form of power Vituris respect. You think you can find these factories? I'm sure of it. With the rifle, I can destroy them. I'm sure they're what caused the rains. You have to let me try. Sure, let's find out what happens if we do that. Kill the weapons factories. I'm sure it won't go poorly at all. I managed to sabotage the weather control project. You did well, Mons. I guess it didn't change much, though. There are a few research projects dedicated towards large-scale weapons. I don't think we can take them all out. I'm just glad to have you back alive. Me too. Loyal! Ooh, we got... Now Wasteland! Oh, it's radiated instead. Alright, let's actually make use of this. Let's watch our ending. I'm sure it's terrible. It's fine. Now that I see how psychedelic and interesting they are. Whee! Hooray! We get to see that bad ideas. Okay. So let's not go there. Ula, go back in time here. Oh, I think we had sent her back last time. That's okay. To build the prosperous period. Great smothering. Are there any other ideas at the time? Yeah, it goes back further. Be sorry for our world. Okay. Hmm. So what if... we send someone... Oh, with a sniper rifle. To take out Tam Welk. sure sending a 9-year-old sniper rifle couldn't possibly go wrong. You had an effect on the timeline, it seems. Good one. Don't seem to be any signs of sentient life outside. Nobody at all? Possible to tell with our sensors. Maybe survivors, though. There's a density of flora around the bunker. Flora? Strange. Plant life seems to be thriving dramatically despite dramatically different atmosphere. Filtration system is going crazy. Why? The air is full of toxins. Can't breathe if we leave then? Probably not. Maybe if we devise or find oxygen tanks, though skin contact could still be a problem. Can we leave? We'd have to prepare thoroughly. Right, so we never actually saw this end. Let's do that. Yeah, this was the overpopulation path, I think. Alright, Ula. I think this was the overpopulation, but we'll see if we can find something else. Do you remember when we were outside before we found this place? Of course I do. Remember how many of us there were? Thousands and hundreds and dozens and just us. Thought we'd all last. I knew we wouldn't all make it. Remember Otto? Do you want to know why I killed her? Yes, she was my friend. She found food which she kept to herself. She shared some with me, though. What about the others? Such a difficult time. Anybody could have made that mistake. We needed to trust each other completely. I know, I was just thinking about it, about how hard it was. That's why we have to change it. Well, that was a better end to that outcome, at least. Yep, that was okay, so that was the overpopulation. Well, wasn't anybody trying to fix things. They talked a lot about it. They talked a lot because talking was all one could do. Had no power, somewhat. There were people in charge, couldn't get close to them, protect in every way possible. Simply too many people in the world for any one of them to have any effect on it. Unimaginable neurons. How do people live? Crammed into tiny apartments. Few streets that one didn't have to shove their way through. Constant traffic. Pointless noise and disruptive crudeness. Everything took a long time. To gain even the smallest thing for oneself required immense effort. They worked at whatever they could to earn meager wages merely to survive. Anything more than that wasn't enough worth imagining. Practically brain dead. How can overpopulation not be detrimental? The sanctity of human life. Remember when you used to kill? I did it to protect us. We never would have found this place otherwise. I know. Back then people don't think like that, though. To them, nothing is more sacred than human life. To murder is the ultimate sin, and death is their greatest fear. Even as the signs of strain appear all around them, they throw all their energies into prolonging life. They're healthy, but demand that the sick be healed. They admit living is misery, but insist nobody should die. Or they're unhealthy, but demand that the sick should be healed. They see the strain on resources, but insist on rationing supply rather than demand. I can understand why they think that. I can't, even with all the time I spent there. Anyway, some people suggested that this quite fundamental idea was the problem. That this sort of compassion without rationality. They didn't just criticize it as short-termist and stupid, however. They believed it had a socio-pathological foundation. Go on. They said humans and societies became conscious of that society's needs, but at the expense of their own personal ones. A man on his own is keenly aware of his well-being. A man in a balanced society is conscious of both his own and the needs of those around him. But a man living among an inconceivably large number of other men ceases to become an individual at all. He's contorted into a cell, part of the mass. He enters a primeval state where all his behaviors and thoughts instead favor the mass. His concern for others is only the most expedient way of taking care of himself, hence the obsession with the sanctity of life. That's all well and good, but how does all that theorizing offer any kind of solution? At its root, the sanctity of life emerges due to people's pathological fear of death. A civilization which glorified death, which exalted it as noble, honorable, magnificent through art or stories perhaps, would become immune to the idea of the sanctity of life, and thus the mass that thinks is one. How can population not be overpopulation not be detrimental? In short, when you're already in power. Sounds odd, perhaps, but some writers suggest that the larger population, the easier it is to control. According to them, the scarcity of resources makes people even more dependent on systems, and thus those who control them. The many humiliations one endures in an overpopulated society are easier to tolerate when surrounded by others suffering the same. And if a disgruntled, rebellious, or antagonistic sentiment ever does rise, that it is more often directed to those in close proximity who feel the same sentiments. Who would even want to rule over such a civilization? A stupid populace willing to do anything for crumbs is the perfect state of things for some. The powerful don't want to live in such a civilization. They didn't. Their lives were detached. Entirely different, I imagine. I couldn't get close to them at all. Are you alright, Jag? Tell me. That's understandable. Get some rest. Alright, let's... Whoops. Shoot! I meant to save. Alright, let's send Jag here instead then. Do something different. The past 10 years have been quite depressing. The game crashed. The game does not appear to want to run properly. There we go. Oh, it went back to the autosave. What that? Oh, that was the era. Right. That's just hiding behind the thing. Okay, we got that back. Let's see here. Hmm. Let's try that. Oh, good. She's the Turvis. Or, that's right. Oh, never mind. Discussion about society. Tam Welk, yep. Around design. And do whatever you need to do to get by. What if we send different art to help radical designers? That's definitely a thing we haven't done yet. to support the course of Nerolian. Take someone with a decent amount of artistic sensitivities, and if not that, something different. Thanks for your help, Jag. Alright, so send... Ula. Just for Nerolianism. Let's try that. Dang it. Oh, good. She's Nerolian now, too. Dang it. Welp. Indeed. Next time, another 10 years. We're doing worse than last time. Good work, us. Let's go to the Great Smothering. Try something different. A sniper rifle to subvert smothering. I'm sure that'll go well. I feel somewhat embarrassed, to be honest, seeing you again. Don't feel that way. You've done well. I'm proud of you. Learn about pre-smothering artifacts. I think part of the problem is I don't know what I've tried previously. Subvert the systems with this poster. Now we're just trying stuff. Well? Few things. Go on. First, I think what happened beyond the bunker is the natural world developed pathogens against humans. How do you know this? There were early signs of it in particularly dense parts of the world. Plants developing pollens which cause severe disease in people, roots which lift poisons within the water table, even a few parasites which thrive despite being deadly to humans. Some thought this was a result of humans having poisoned the natural world for so long. Others felt it was an evolved defense since these plants flourished when humans fled their vicinities. What else? Decline has too much momentum in this era, but I think I know how we might change things if we visit a time of little before it. I'm listening. The society was Nerolian in name only. And even then it regarded Nerolianism as a tried philosophy, one that had run its course somewhat. Other ideologies were discussed often. If one of us is determined enough or has some strong representation of another philosophy, they might be able to go back and reinvigorate society with a new set of values. I think this timeline needs more than just new values. I agree, but believe me when I tell you that an overpopulated world with this much momentum will be very difficult to alter. What's funny? I don't know. This. Everything. I think you're the only person in all this who can't see how absurd the situation is. What situation? Our strange existences, all enthralled to a 17-year-old who hasn't ventured outside of a small bunker in years. Yes, it's strange. Whenever I go, I forget how purposeful you are. The intensity of your eyes, the power in your voice. It's difficult to imagine without being in its presence. I want to ask you something, and I don't expect an answer. I don't need one. Go on. Are you trying to find a future for the world, or merely for yourself? The world. I believe you. As difficult as it would be to believe of anyone else, I believe you. Okay, so if we send someone with good sensitivity... Didn't we do Psychic Wound to subvert? I wish there was a little bit of a log of... Bergamus art to help the Bergamus. I don't think we've done... We might have done that. Oh, we did it! I managed to erode old Nerolian principles further and help opposing groups gain more influence among the masses. The friction and division alone made it easier to influence society. The changes you brought to the timeline seem strange. How so? From what we can hear on the radio, it seems that civilization persists, but under quite a lot of strain. That makes a kind of sense. I wasn't able to secure dominance for the group you sent me back to help, but the power vacuum was definitely created. The president seems anyone over 40 is killed. We won't all be able to survive here. None of us will survive here. Maybe we can if we avoid others. You're right, though. This is no world for us. Well, let's watch our terrible ending. Our Logan's Run ending. Come in at a weird part of a weird game. It's one of the endings of Decade. It's a narrative adventure game about a post-apocalyptic future and a way to send people back in the past 10 years to try to find out information or influence the past to change the future. We've apparently changed the timeline such that everyone at 40 is killed. We've Logan's Run it. So the current is the rain has turned metallic and is deadly. We made it to a bunker with 3 children that we can send back 10 years, and they come back 10 years older, and we see how that changes things. So let's see what happened here. We're running out of time for our people, unfortunately. It also changes the children, yes. There are people alive? Alive right now? This planet is habitable? Yes, we can hear them on the radio. We did it! A future for humanity. So we can leave this place finally. Together? No, I'm not sure this is the kind of world we should live in. Why not? Sounds like people over 30 are killed. We wouldn't all survive easily here. Oh. Wasn't that always going to be how it was? You always said our aging was a sacrifice for something bigger than ourselves. This world isn't worth the sacrifice, however. Humanity deserves better than this. Tell me about the era you visited. It was a very violent time, both chaotic, criminal violence, and more disciplined, organized combat. Society had been stripped to its bare essentials, and though a few people still dedicated themselves to keeping those essentials functioning, most people understood that it was a critical time of change and that there was nowhere to hide. Everyone knew they must align themselves to an ideal. What ideals? I could spend hours listing the numerous factions that formed and crumbled, but the wealthy, old institutions, and those who controlled aspects of critical infrastructure still maintained a lot of power. Over the decade, almost everyone coagulated into a few powerful entities that included elements of high and low society. The Steel Court, Dushort, and the Sandal. Tell me about the Sandal. They contained the largest number of older institutions and powermongers. They claimed the ability to return society to its Nerolian heights, but without the things which people now hated and resented Nerolianism for. Tell me about Future. They wanted to reconstruct culture, technology, and even language. Of course, they had many conflicting ideas on how to do this. They were quite effective at gathering information and also made themselves attractive to a lot of people. Tell me about the Steel Corps. They were comprised of merciless street gangs called wire snappers, and leaders who touted physical supremacy as their singular purpose. They were despised and feared as vehemently as they were loved. Many felt a lack of physical standards had led to humanity's decline. They were as ruthless with their own as they were with others. There was a major dispute among them just as I left. They sound like Vitervus. I know. I think all these groups were just simply manifestation of some older ideas. Thanks. That's all for now. Listen, I want to ask you something since I was little. A stupid question. Go on. I'm sure you'd chest be sweet for. Was I your favorite? Why would you torture yourself with such a question? I know, it's pathetic. I'm sorry. Well, that's not the answer I was... Alright, so let's save here and see if we can do something with this timeline. I think this is showing that we've got the only splinter there is. Well, we saved. Let's try it and see. Oh boy. Alright, well, you're Nerolian. Take this Nerolian fascist mega... Oh, wait, what's the thing we got? Band musical distortion effect. Materially found altered states on those present. Subversive groups such as Homicide continued to perform with them. What if we give the weather frequencies to help Homicide? Don't know if this can do anything. "10 years, I keep thinking I had to come up with a pithy, easy way of explaining this time to you. This moment I knew would come, but as those years passed by, I realized how difficult it is to explain to everything, how the world works, how people think. Do you understand what I mean?" No. No, of course not. How could you? Just do your best, Jag. Problem is, this was a time of many different groups, many different ideas, an overload of information, billions of people, all constantly acting, all with their individual perspectives, desires, activities, and it's funny. What is? I started to think Nerolians had a point. Maybe not the solution, but perhaps an accurate understanding of the problem. I'm not sure when everyone is constantly bombarded with information all the time, and all things are permitted, more is lost than is gained. What emerges isn't chaos, but a kind of stagnancy, a static state that absorbs all change. I'm not sure I understand. No, you have to live through it, I suppose. Alright, so then... So it looks like there's another branch to go from here that we haven't gotten, if I'm reading that correctly. So this is the happened when we boosted Bergamus. We send this to help the Cedarus. Nothing changed. What do you mean by compelling enough? Perhaps violent, wildly ambitious. Take a sniper rifle to help the Vitervus. What could go wrong? Sure that's not a terrible idea? No. The first time he sent me back? Of course. I was just 8. So hard to believe. 8 years. It's nothing to me now. Still, I was so headstrong, so arrogant. I was right to be, honestly. I knew so much the others didn't. Not just about the future, but about life. I already knew how to survive, how to think, how to learn. There were still things I knew nothing of. Things I learned that first decade. What things? What things? Sex, passion, love, intimacy. I learned those in the past. I was 15. Even then you seemed to be involved somehow. That's weird. I'm sorry it didn't turn out that way. Could it have? No. No, it could not. So I think we're kind of at stagnant on this one. I don't know if I even have the thing I would need to make this work. Realize I'm too old for any new world now. You're still healthy? I'm 81. Old. Finished. Mons as well. Jag 2. What can I give anymore? Wisdom. No, if there's one thing I've learned in my strange life, it's that nobody learns from the past, only from their own mistakes. You're being harsh towards yourself. So sweet. Always was. Tell me something nice. I want the future to be one you made. It's the highest compliment you can give me, isn't it? Thank you. Sometimes wonder what you'll be like when you're my age. Wonder if you'll have regrets, if you'll changed. I already have regrets. No, you don't even know what they are yet. You know, time moves slowly when you're young, and quickly when you get old, bunker or not. Take this... I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. Take your drawing and learn. Just learn. Nope. Okay, we're just too far gone. Let's just restart. Oh, I can just talk to them. That's... Right. Good morning, loser. How are you? Mons tried to climb the bookshelf this morning and it fell down. Was she looking for something? One of the machine books. Willa put a plaster on her and I told her not to do it again, but she wanted to, but I didn't let her. Mons is tough. Yeah. Wait, I want to tell you about when Ula lost one of her pet spiders and I had to climb in the bookcase because I saw that there was a web on the top. Later, maybe, after you've gone into the machine. We go to the machine, we come out, and we're really, really big. Being serious with you, Jag, it's gonna be tough. I know. Hey, Ula. Morning. How are you feeling? Fine. What are you thinking about? Nothing. Are you afraid? No. Ula thinks will become absurd for all of us. No matter what, we must stick together. Remember, I love you. I'm ready. What are you ready for? Machine. Okay. We talked to the people this time. You're loyal and sensitive. Maybe you can go. Maybe you won't be swayed into violence. What is this poetry you brought? It's an expression of the ideals of Vitervism. I thought it might help us understand it. What do you think about Vitervism? It was without a doubt why the world ended up like it has. It has its own concepts of beauty, but nothing beyond them. Its own concept of morality and nothing beyond that. Such a singular and dominant idea, it could only end this way. What about the variables? We need to travel to an earlier period. Couldn't find them. They're too dangerous. I have to confess something. You know, you can tell me anything. Even though it was such a strange time, there were moments when I thought about not coming back. Why? I'm not as tough as all of you. Yes, you are, in your own way. Which way? You survived. Only 4 of us did. Doesn't that prove it to you? I survived because of you. And I survived because of you. Really? We needed more than strength to survive, you know. I never thought about it that way. This seems like a better start. Oh, yeah, we can look at the poetry. It's dependent, drawn to structure. Oh boy. Yep. They really do like destruction. Okay, so sending her was probably... Learn about research labs. Oh, we got the sniper rifle and she's violent. Okay. Well. It's a lot more peaceful in time of Vitervis, so I was able to earn quite a bit. Tell me about the area you visited. Yep. Might be impossible. Anger, frustration. Channeled with something else. Hulyen. Yeah, that would just be making a different issue. What if we send Ula with Jag's drawing to help radical designers? Yeah. Should I just... hang on. Actually, I would like you to learn about smothering. See if we can get some different information. Architecture, huh? Learn about architecture. Do we have something that could work? Apparently we have something that could work. I mean, I have a gun. Really following. To help Tam Welk. Influential, smart, tough, well protected. So in that case, if I send you to do it. Dang it. I reload that one. Tell you what, you're violent. Go kill that guy. That's bound to have an effect, right? Oh, we're on this one. Okay. We're on this one. Good job. Stuff you taught us to do here, maintaining filtration of water, synthesizing food. It's pretty useful back then. A lot of core systems were breaking down through strain, despite there being some people, most of them were idiots. How would you fix it? Good management, needs good people in power. Think we can influence it? Easily, it's a case picking your poison. Groups we've learned about, one has to be a better choice to take over. Had an idea. What is it? Gonna hate it, but just say it. I might not. Oh yeah, we could all live together. It would be nice. Just live together happily. Tried to figure it out many times. I can't. Way of thinking is why the world is it is. Selfishness of ignoring the future. Ugh. Sure seems like you're probably wondering, what's real? Where you found me out there before we got to the bunker. Found you barely breathing in a pile of dead bodies. Probably your family. Oh, they had been killed. And that's that. Ooh. Alright, so we have Psychic Wound again. I feel like there's something with Psychic Wound. Ooh. Okay, okay. I don't think we watched this ending last time we got it, so let's do that. So only the rich went to space. Alright, go find out what happened. Optimistic. It was strange. I'm starting to realize people don't understand how fragile everything around them is, even as it's close to disappearing completely. Resmothering? Breed little undestroyed. Tell me about space venture. Furmano. You know, I remember you. Why would you forget? I mean, before we'd had to sit out in the rains, we were in the same children's facility. Did you know that? Do you remember me from back then? Vaguely. And then I was only 4 or 5. You were twice my age, and there were hundreds of you, but I noticed you. Why? There's something special about you. How so? I don't know exactly. I am what I am. You certainly are. Okay, you are both optimistic and pessimistic. That's impressive. Go learn about space project. You're still ours. So stubborn, even a life like this wouldn't change me. You've changed in a good way. Wait, hang on. What was that again? Learn about Fermano, please. Or go help. Maybe? Go learn. Not old enough to be thinking about, well, being gone. Dead. Definitely can't go back more than a few times. Presumably the others will eventually be too old for it too. Go on. What if you end up here alone? The rest of us gone. Dying in the past. With the world outside still livable. What will you do? I'll stay here for as long as possible before leaving. There are other things I could try. Like what? Sending messages in the past. Nope, someone finds an axe on them. Suppose that might work if you try enough times. Oh, I made Jack depressed. Alright, let's go back. Oof, indeed. Alright, so it looks like there isn't another branch here. Help the Bergamus. Go help the Cedarus with the drug lab. Try something I know I haven't tried. Ooh! Oh, we're in this one. That's right. That doesn't seem helpful. Alright, so Sandal seems decent. I feel like I'm just kind of stuck again. Go help Omicide with this weird material. Alright, you're Nerolian now. That doesn't seem terribly helpful. So we've seen all these paths. None of that's helped. We've seen both of those paths. Oh! We're in the... Hang on, how long has that been there? A while. Okay, let's do that. I didn't realize we'd unlocked earlier. Start from the beginning. What went wrong during your decade? Oh yeah, all this stuff. Whoa! Alright, tell me about the Rosians. Rosians weren't really a group in any sense. They had no structure and acted as individuals. They were dedicated to making the world aesthetically and sonically beautiful and stimulating, often to the extent of sacrificing all others. They roamed mostly, building structures, making art, performing music. They asked for nothing, believing beauty to be an end unto itself, though knowing this, many were generous towards them. Due to their fanatical obsession with beauty, they were the cause of many problems. They killed each other often over disputes, desecrated each other's works, or even their own. Sometimes they killed for impetuous reasons, such as not seeing the value of their work. Because art is eternal, they had no fear of death. They destroyed the things they believed to be ugly, often ran into issues with other groups. Bergamists aimed to understand as much as they could about the human mind. At times their understanding was quite esoteric. Some believed in magic, for example. Mostly they were quite pragmatic, although they did seem to mostly agree that man by nature is a religious animal. Many were quite wary of them, believing them to have ulterior motives, though the Bergamists were still responsible for recording a lot of internal information about other philosophies, such as the Rosans or Lavenderists, which would have gone largely unknown and been lost to time if not for them. Julianism was a kind of spiritual, emotional, primal worship, or perhaps faith. It was deeply fatalistic, complex, and some would say chaotic. They had a pantheon of gods, each person assigned one according to birth date, birth location, and sometimes parents. Though as with all things in Pachulianism, it was vague and subject to change. It was each Pachulian's personal task to understand and alter their perception of their gods through reality and consultations that took the form of various nightly rituals. Their inability to interpret anything as a signal, coupled with sense of a religious justification for any action that comes from devout faith, made them extremely unpredictable and disruptive. Lavenderism is about the pursuit of sensual pleasure. They believed in absolute supremacy of physical experience over knowledge, memory, even communication. Pleasure-seeking neoliberalism we know a bunch about. Well-respected, honesty, directness, and competence. Messiness of the war. Purity from simpleness. No wonder they ended up dominating. Cedar is somewhat odd and duplicitous. 1 point a bloodline. Different sort of dynasty. Exclusive and private. Their actions were one of the main causes of the smothering. Anizans. Technology is just a way of making life easier and more full, but an avenue towards transcendence. Restoring pre-war technologies. Interesting. Lavender's turn to drugs. Service. Strength. Yep. Okay. That's enough of ideas. What did you learn about this war? Nobody really knew much, despite everybody feeling its effects so deeply. Nobody was even sure how long it had lasted, 5 or 500 years. Some pre-smothering writers and historians. Oh, right, Yep. I suppose all that chaos induced the concept of the smothering. Exactly. Even though the final war had ended over a generation ago, it lingered deep in people's psyches. People were afraid of another vast and senseless conflict, of losing what little they had built. Ironic, considering the Neuralians destroyed it anyway. Neuralians had some very charismatic leaders. Pierre Cody, for instance. The smothering his idea, mainly. Neuralians were trustworthy and had contributed most to rebuilding society, often entire cities from nothing. I think many groups arrogantly thought they could survive. Yep, that's right. Good work. We should be able to change the timeline here. Alright, so this final war. Excess. Atrocity. And the Great Smothering. Oh, we have, Dunn's letters. So we need to go pre-smothering. Subvert. Good lord. Pier. Glad you came back. Of course not. A reactionary time. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out. Maybe we can use this speech to subvert him. Dang it. What if you take this gun and kill Pure Cody? I think I've tried that. Alright. What if you take these letters And help that idiot. Nope. No name, just that idiot. I mean... Go learn... Go subvert eternal life technology. I don't know. Nope. Well, thanks, cat. Alright, hang on. There we go. I'm doing poorly. Yeah, I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. For this path. Maybe I don't have what I need. It seems to think I do, though. Alright, let's go further back then, I guess. You're violent. Go check out a war. Go learn. Maybe we need to go help the library. Store the Buddha line. I also like libraries. It's true. Dang it. I don't think I will figure it out. I think I want to try taking this drug lab to try to subvert violence. There is something we can do, but... Oh. Oh. Oh, this is the... Alright, well, we can explore this timeline, I guess. I always feel like I grew up in Ula's shadow somewhat. The time I just went to. Tell me what you saw. A lot of the things we knew about still happen. Vitervus getting more violent, the Cedarists engaging in strange practices, and Aurelians growing in influence. But also the Ulas. They were growing more rapidly than any other idea because of her predictions of the 27 books. What are the 27 books? Books are supposed to contain everything that Ula wanted to teach, her prophecies and values. What do you mean by supposed? It's very messy. To start with, there aren't actually 27 books. It's more like a collection of letters, diaries, even audio recordings of conversations and songs. It wasn't even regarded as complete. They were still finding new journals which spoke about her. Things got even more complicated as Ulism grew because there were a lot of forgeries. People claiming that they had known her and she had said this or that. I could tell a lot of them were fake, but not all. What did they say? You know Ula, she was trying to convey the dangers we've seen. Collapse, destruction, war, eradication. She tried to do in her way, you know, by getting people to imagine a world full of so much beauty that there was no need for hatred. That was the message as I know she intended, but... Go on. I got the impression a lot of Ula's followers were artists. They often had very poetic interpretations of what she said. Many of them were young and naive, too young to know much of the final war. They couldn't possibly understand the terrible things she talked about. Also, when Ula died, many of them argued with each other and used their recordings of her to express their own identities and beliefs. Ultimately, the 27 books were too messily organized, too full of contradictions, and too full of petty agendas to present an argument clearly. Who wrote them? Followers, mostly, though I get the impression some were more just friends than followers. Lovers, neighbors. Anything that had anything to do with her was regarded as something worth saving by Ulis. I see. Tell me about these predictions. Ula had obviously talked a lot about the eras, the timelines we've seen, and a lot of what she said went into the 27 books. There were mentions of the Metal Rains, the Great Smothering, the time of the Vitervus. Somewhere she had mentioned the rise of the Neurolians and the Cedarist purity, pursuit of immortality, even the somatic disturbance. As each of these events occurred, it drew a lot of attention to the 27 books, and Ulism began to be regarded with a lot more respect and seriousness. Ulis were those who followed her ideas, I presume. Right. Ula was long gone, and of course, generations prior, I reckon there were a few thousand Ulas spread around when I first arrived, probably tens of thousands by the time I left. What did they believe exactly? It wasn't really a firm doctrine or even like a cult, at least not at the start. It wasn't seen as a movement in the beginning. People were more devout about their faith in things like Neurolianism. Most Ulas were just those who enjoyed researching or talking about the 27 books, their prophecies, their stories, like a hobby or curiosity. It was definitely growing into something more meaningful, though. How did Ula die? That's another confusing part. There are multiple stories. Some said that she was assassinated. Some say she just disappeared one day, or that she died of natural causes and her body disappeared. Others say she killed herself with poison. There are lots more creative accounts as well. Creative accounts? That she turned to dust in the rain, or that she died making love to the sea, that sort of thing. Like I said, everything about her became quite intangible. Disappointingly so. What else happened during this period? The Cedarist Eternity scandal had just been exposed before I left. They had been kidnapping children performing experiments in pursuit of eternal life. The somatic disturbance had occurred a few years prior. Vitruvius had seized several cities, including Zudi. Surprising thing, though, from what I remember, it was all treated with much less shock and severity this time. I think that Ulas predicting these things had taken some of the sting out of them and compelled people to act less extremely in their reactions. Surprising indeed. Go on. Is that your favorite? Sure, why not? Really? Yes. Why not? You're my favorite. Okay. Oh, boy. Go into this stage. Welcome back, Jag. Got lots to tell you. Ula really made a difference. Go on. Her life and the things she said, recorded by the people around her, had been collected into a confusing archive called the 27 Books. Did predict enough of... Yep. Tell me about the new diviners. Surrounded by disputes over what was authentic. Many attempts. Diviners were those who claimed a profound spiritual connection with Ulism. Different reasons. Tell me about Verzizo. Niche but fairly provocative diviner, the most talked about in intellectual and subversive circles. He claimed no prophetic or supernatural abilities, but had an undeniable insight when it came to the 27 books, having verified some of them. He'd been a Bergamist prior. Ver was surrounded by intrigue and rumor. He said there were secret messages throughout the 27 books, and an inner group of Ulis had endured since the time of her death and continued to work toward a mysterious end. What do you think of those claims? In a time of prophecies and mystics, conspiracies seem rather rational. It's quite plausible that Ula set up a small group to carry on her legacy in private, perhaps through some generations until we might emerge. On the other hand, if some of it was outlandish, and Ver was often vague, quick to dismiss anything concrete. Some say that this inner circle was mainly concerned with Ula's resurrection, that they had preserved her body all these years, and that they had made much progress but were lacking a crucial element, an element only he knew of and which he saw it as his Ulis duty to protect. Tell me about Arl Jain. Arl was rough, fiercely intelligent, perhaps mad diviner. He'd been a Vitruvius for many years and had the mannerisms of a disheveled brute. All of this contributed, however, to his charisma as a doom-heralding mystic. He spoke powerfully, but wrote too intricately for the masses. He focused upon Ula's portents, taking them to mythical extremes. He told people to submit, to pray, to apologize. An eternity of torment by metal rain awaited those who didn't. An eternal intimacy with loved ones awaited who did. What do you make of him? There were times when I was listening to him when I could understand how someone might get swept up in his rhetoric. Kind of discipline. An all-might sense of justice. Romantic vision of hardship. Pleasure feeling righteous in everything you do as long as you submit to his narrow, easy vision. Tell me about Ness Fair. She was a young but quite serious, perhaps shrewd woman. She became immensely popular after predicting the collapse of 2 buildings. She claimed to commune with Ula directly. Ness wrote a book called The Parables, which became the most widely adopted method of engaging with Ulism. It emphasized the meekness, compassion, and fear of extremes within Ula's words. What do you make of her? Not sure, really. Perhaps Ness meant well, but the parables were so wishy-washy simplified that anything Ula had wanted to convey about the problems we face was lost almost completely. How did it absorb other philosophies? Well, other people saw and interpreted it for their own purposes. Nerolians saw Ulism a fear of extremes, sort of purity through balance. Bergamists, of course, were interested in all forms of religion as a facet of psychology, essentially, though in Ulism they saw a most powerful manifestation of it. Cedarists saw its popularity as a method for control. Rosians saw iconography. Lavenderists saw an argument for sensuality. Whatever your stance, Ulism had captured so much a culture that you had to engage with it. Most want to repurpose it for themselves, and because the 27 books were so obtuse, it was easy. Religion? A lot of the ideas we've come across, even at their extremes, have their root in a rational kind of logic, a framework of looking at life. Ulism is different, however. As much as it's based on her attempt to value survival, she was such a strange and beguiling figure to those people that they couldn't help becoming entranced by the aesthetics, the mysticism, the visions, especially after her predictions proved correct. Surely the core of her message of trying to survive remained. Somewhere. Buried among everything else, perhaps. Well done, Jag. I don't think I'm gonna make it back if you send me off again. Why? Look at me, I'm old. Barely handle the damp cold of this bunker anymore. Chaos and troubles to pass. What would you like to do? There are only two things left for me now. Leaving the bunker into a new world or being sent back into an old. So I'm not really any use for the future anymore. I want to ask if you'd send me back somewhere nice. Somewhere peaceful, where I could live simply, happily. Don't give up, you've got plenty more in you. I hope so. Ooh, jaded. Let's see if we actually get to, learn about this one. Dare say it makes me happy as when I was a little girl. Are you not well? It is not any kind of world that Ula would want. What happened? Decade of misery, of torture and pain, the worst of humanity celebrated and rewarded. World so dreadful even death can be desired. You're back now, it's all over. Yes, yes. Tell me what happened. I realized early on this was a world without freedom. A world of complete domination, hierarchy. The Church of Ula and its many rungs at the top, and then those in its favor, then the rest of us existing as the mere flesh that they grind daily for their sustenance, for their amusement, to fill the deficiencies in their souls. There was nothing but worship there, supposedly of Ula, but really of those whose pretense was to understand her. Rule by fear. Every face a potential danger, clever phrase taken for mischief. Friend betraying you so his child would not be taken. Tortured until you could sound only noises, your noises interpreted as heresies. Constantly, relentlessly, till they made us as wretched as them, cheering the gallows, trusting their stations. I'm sorry. Survived, cracked a little after the third, found it much more. What did you find? The heresies they feared. Knew only sadism. Power had made them dim-witted. Found the real Ulis, the one who maintained the thread reaching back to her life. What do you mean? When Ula died, the vein around her wrote memoirs, while others preserved her body. Perhaps some of them knew of the Cedarist attempts at immortality. They preserved her with the aim of resurrection. That's how they understood her message of survival, the endurance of beauty of Ula herself. They kept her body? Yes, and endeavored to resurrect her. Impossible. No, it is possible. At great expense, at great risk, at great effort. All of which they are capable of. They lack only one thing, a missing element. Perhaps in some lost document, perhaps obscured by the obfuscations of the 27 books written upon Ula's death. Each day they endeavored to discover it, if it still exists. They are not eradicated for it happens. Can you learn what this missing element is? Even heretics don't precisely know. They risk their lives to scare banished texts for the answer. Not sure resurrecting Ula is something that should be done. Maybe. She might die all over again in a world like this. Or maybe... Thank you, Mons. Remember the first time you sent me back? Of course. Getting 15 lifelines. Oh boy. I'm not sure we get another go, but we'll try. What's the heretical myth? Oh, that. Whoops. My bad. Nope. Well, here. And then we were out of children. Well, I'm gonna wrap up there. Because if there are other endings, we are not likely to hit them in just a bit here. This game is really interesting. I'm probably gonna play some more offline, because I'm gonna have to do a lot of back and forth and digging and reading. But yeah, check this one out. It's interesting. But for now, I'm going to say thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. We're going to raid out as usual, so stick around for that, and I will see y'all next time. Have a good night. Bye!